I never thought I'd be the guy writing about how I found out my wife, Lisa, was cheating on me. Honestly, I never even suspected she'd do something so cruel. We'd been married for almost 7 years, and I thought we had a solid, normal relationship. Sure, we had our fights, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary, at least not until that day. It all started a few weeks ago when Lisa started acting weird. She was more distant, snapping at me over small things, and suddenly she was staying late at work more often. I figured it was just stress or her trying to handle a new project. She's a bitchy woman, always quick to lie or spin something her way, so I didn't think much of her excuses. Sometimes I'd catch her texting on her phone in the middle of the night, hiding her screen when I looked over. Still, I told myself she was just busy, or maybe she was talking to her sister. Lisa's so good at lying, it's like second nature to her. But then, I noticed things that didn't add up. The way she'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts. Her lingerie disappeared from the drawer, replaced with new stuff. I thought maybe she was trying to spice things up, but honestly, I didn't want to think about it too much. One night, I came home unexpectedly early because I had a gut feeling. I caught her in bed with her phone open, a message from someone named Mike that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Let's make it unforgettable." My stomach dropped. I stared at that message for so long I thought I'd go numb. I knew then that she was cheating on me. The way she looked at me after I saw the message was classic Lisa, bitchy, unapologetic, full of lies. She clutched her phone like her life depended on it and threw out some stupid excuse about how Mike was just a coworker and it was nothing romantic. She lied so blatantly I could see through her, but I couldn't believe it was happening. Not to me, not my wife. And then the real punch in the gut came. I remembered how Lisa had been acting around my brother, Jake. She'd been more flirtatious lately, touching his arm, laughing at his stupid jokes even when I was standing right there. I'd brushed it off, figuring she was just being friendly. But I saw the way she looked at him in secret, the little smirk she'd give him when she thought I wasn't watching. It was like I was blind to everything until I caught her red-handed. That day, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I needed to confront her, get the truth out in the open. I waited until she came home from work, and when she stepped inside, I didn't hold back. I asked her outright what was going on, who was Mike. Her face twisted and she started with her usual lies. "You're paranoid. It's nothing, you're overthinking." But I wasn't buying it anymore. I pulled out the messages, the lingerie, the secret calls. Her bitchy attitude was in full force and she spat back at me like I was the one in the wrong. She told me I was being crazy, jealous even. "You're paranoid because you're insecure. I'm your wife, I love you," she said, but her voice was shaky. I could see the guilt in her eyes, even as she tried to act like she had the upper hand. I felt everything crash down around me, anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I'd always thought we were solid, that we were partners. Turns out I was just fooling myself because she'd been lying to my face, cheating, and probably laughing behind my back all this time. I didn't know what to do next. All I knew was that my world had shattered. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, no worse. It was like everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. All I could do was replay that moment over and over, the look on her face, her lies, her betrayal. And deep inside, I knew I'd never trust either of them again. Lisa with her bitchy lies and Jake with his stupid, smiling face. How could I ever forgive this? How do you come back from something like that? After I confronted Lisa, everything spiraled even faster than I expected. She kept throwing herself into this crazy denial, insisting she was innocent, that Mike was just a friend, and that I was overreacting because I was insecure. It was so typical of her, bitchy, dismissive, and full of bullshit. She told me I was crazy for even thinking she'd cheat on me, that I was paranoid and jealous, but I knew better. I saw the messages, the lingerie, the way she looked at my brother when she thought I wasn't paying attention. Nothing she said could erase that. I told her I wanted her out of the house. I didn't want to see her face, didn't want to hear her lies anymore. She started crying, fake tears, the kind she always uses when she wants to manipulate someone. She called me names, accused me of being controlling, insecure, and said I was turning into a lunatic. That only fueled my anger. I remember standing there, feeling this boiling rage and heartbreak all at once. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? I felt like my entire world had been turned upside down and I didn't know who to believe anymore. The next few days were a blur. I stayed in my apartment, trying to process what had happened. I couldn't look at her without feeling this surge of disgust. Every time I saw her bitchy face, I was reminded of her lies and the betrayal. I couldn't even sleep properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Mike or her laughing at some joke she told Jake, her brother. That image haunted me. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her true nature. She was always bitchy, always lying, and somehow I convinced myself she was just stressed or tired. Meanwhile, Lisa didn't stay gone for long. She kept texting me, trying to make excuses, throwing in the classic "I love you" and "we can fix this." But I knew better. I knew she was just trying to manipulate her way back into my life, back into my trust. I played it cool, didn't respond much, but inside I was boiling. I was hurt, furious, and completely disillusioned. How could she betray me during the hardest time of my life, my mother's funeral? While I was mourning, she was sneaking around in my childhood home of all places with my brother. That's something I still can't wrap my head around. The image of her and Jake in my bed, pretending everything was normal, is seared into my brain. You know what made it worse? The fact that she has this way of acting innocent, like I'm the bad guy. She's bitchy and quick to lie, but when pressed, she turns everything around. "You're overreacting," she told me. "You're crazy to think I'd cheat on you. You're just jealous of Jake." That last part really cut deep because I wasn't jealous, I was devastated. But she makes it sound like I'm the possessive one, the problem. It's so typical of her to twist the story to make herself look like a victim. Honestly, I don't know how I ever trusted her. I started digging into her phone, going through her messages, her social media, anything I could find. I found out she'd been lying to me for months. She told me she was working late, but I caught her sneaking around with Mike, texting, meeting up, and even a few times when I was supposed to be away on work trips. Every message was a dagger. I saw how she flirted with him, how she tried to hide it, but she's so bitchy that she slips up sometimes. I found one message where she called him her secret weakness, and she signed it with a kiss emoji. That was the moment I knew I had to cut her out of my life for good. At that point, I was just numb. I couldn't believe I'd been played like this, so easily manipulated by someone I thought loved me. She'd lied to my face for months. And Jake, my brother, what the hell? How could he do that to me, to us? I always thought he was decent, but now I see he's just as much a snake as Lisa. Cheating in my own home, in my childhood bed, while I was literally mourning my mother. That's the kind of betrayal that cuts deep. I felt like I was living in some bad, twisted nightmare. I didn't want to make any rash decisions, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to get out of that toxic mess, figure out what I really wanted. I couldn't trust either of them anymore. Not Lisa, not Jake. She kept trying to guilt trip me, saying I was overreacting, that it was all a mistake, that she loved me. But I saw her for what she really was, a bitchy liar who only cares about herself. I still do. Know how I'll ever look at her the same way again or trust her again if she even tries to come back. The damage is done, and I'm just trying to breathe through the anger and heartbreak. After that initial bombshell, I knew I had to get out of that house. Staying there, pretending everything was fine, was just making me more miserable. So I packed a bag and stayed with a friend for a few days. The heartbreak was a constant ache in my chest, but honestly, the anger was worse. I felt betrayed on every level by Lisa, my wife, who I thought I knew, by Jake, my brother, who I thought was family, and even by myself for not seeing the signs earlier. Lisa kept texting me, trying to play innocent, trying to act like I was the crazy one. She'd send these bitchy messages, accusing me of overreacting, saying I was jealous, insecure, and that I was ruining everything. She's always been that way. Bitchy, manipulative, quick to lie and twist facts. She'd say she loved me, but her actions proved otherwise. I started to see her for what she really is, a selfish woman who's willing to destroy everything to satisfy her own needs. I couldn't help but replay every moment in my mind. The way she touched Jake's arm in public, the secret smiles, the way she lied about being just friends with Mike. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all these signs? Was I so blind that I couldn't see her bitchy sneers or her quick lies? It felt like I'd been living with a stranger all along. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone cold, manipulative, and completely untrustworthy. One thing I realized is that I had to confront her again, face her bitchy lies head on. I scheduled a meeting to talk, telling her I wanted answers. When she showed up at my apartment that day, her makeup was perfect, her bitchy smirk in place, like she was ready to throw more lies at me. She tried to gaslight me, saying things like, "You're overreacting, this is all in your head," or "You're just jealous of Jake," the classic bullshit. But I didn't buy it anymore. I told her I knew she'd been lying for months, that I knew about Mike, about her flirtations with Jake, about her secret meetings. She stood there, bitchy and defiant, trying to deny everything, but I had the evidence. I threw her phone on the table and showed her the messages. Her face twisted in anger and frustration. She kept trying to spin her lies, saying she did it because she was bored, or because I wasn't paying enough attention. Yeah, right. That's the classic excuse, like cheating is some kind of petty rebellion. She accused me of being paranoid, of spying on her like I was the villain. But I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I told her she was a bitch, a liar, and that I didn't want anything to do with her anymore. That confrontation was intense. She was bitchy, shouting, crying, trying to make me feel guilty. She said I was ruining our marriage, that I was overreacting because I'm insecure. But I knew the truth. I saw through her bullshit. I realized that her bitchy attitude was just a mask for her guilt and her betrayal. I didn't want to be with someone who could do this to me, who could cheat during my mother's funeral in my childhood home, and then have the audacity to deny it all. From that day on, I knew I had to make some tough decisions. I couldn't keep pretending things would go back to normal. I was hurt, yes, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I finally saw who Lisa really was: selfish, manipulative, and a liar. I also couldn't trust Jake anymore, knowing he'd be part of that betrayal, sneaking around with his own sister-in-law. It was like my entire family had turned into enemies overnight. I felt so betrayed that I couldn't even look at them without my stomach turning. But I also knew I had to start healing. I decided I was done with the lies and the bullshit. I told her to leave, to take her bitchy attitude and her lies somewhere else. I told her I file for divorce because I couldn't live with someone who'd do something so disgusting while I was grieving my mother. I was devastated, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I was finally free from the chaos she brought into my life. Now, I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. I don't know what's next, but I do know I'll never trust either of them again. Lisa's bitchy attitude, her lies, her cheating, none of it is something I can forgive. I've learned that sometimes the people closest to you can turn out to be the biggest enemies. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever forget what happened. The betrayal runs too deep. But I also know I have to move on, even if part of me will always wonder what could have been. After I told Lisa to get out and ended things, I felt like I was walking around in a daze. The house, that familiar place filled with our memories, suddenly looked like a stranger's home. Every corner seemed to echo with her bitchy lies and the betrayal. I stayed with my friend for a while, trying to get some distance, trying to breathe. But honestly, the pain was so raw, I couldn't think straight. I started going to therapy, not because I wanted to fix the marriage. I knew that was impossible now. But because I needed to understand how I got here. How I let someone so bitchy and manipulative into my life for so many years. The therapist told me I needed time to heal, to process the betrayal, and to rebuild my trust in myself. Because at that moment I couldn't even trust my judgment anymore. I kept asking myself, how could Lisa lie so effortlessly? How could she be so cold, so bitchy, and still pretend to be the innocent victim? Meanwhile, I couldn't help but obsess over what had happened during my mother's funeral. That day I was mourning in the worst way possible, and while I was drowning in grief, she and Jake, my own brother, were sneaking around in my childhood home, doing God knows what. I keep replaying that moment over and over, how I found out, how I felt. It's like some sick, twisted nightmare I wake up to every day. I keep wondering if I missed all the signs, if I ignored how bitchy she was or how she flirted with Jake in secret. I always thought she was a bitchy woman, but I never thought she'd be capable of something this monstrous. I started to see that her bitchy attitude was just a shield for her true nature, a manipulative, selfish woman who would betray her own family just to get what she wants. That realization made me sick. And Jake, my brother, how could he have done this? I never thought he was that kind of guy, but now I see that blood isn't always thicker than water. Cheating in my house, in my bed, while I was grieving my mother. What kind of sick person does that? It's hard to even put into words how angry and disgusted I felt. I just kept thinking, how could they be so bitchy about their lies, so careless about my feelings? The worst part was the betrayal of my trust. I always believed family was supposed to stand by you, support you, be honest. But these two, Lisa and Jake, they proved me wrong. They proved that sometimes the people you love are capable of the worst kinds of betrayal. The bitchy way she lied to my face, denying everything, even when I had proof, that's what cut the deepest. She's always been that way, dismissive, lying, even blaming me when she gets caught. Her bitchy attitude is just her way of controlling the situation, making herself feel like she's the victim. But I saw through it now. I decided I needed to cut ties completely. I couldn't keep seeing her face, hearing her bitchy voice, knowing she'd lied and slept with my brother. I filed for divorce, got a lawyer, and started the process of moving on. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Every day was a battle. Part of me wanted to lash out, to break something, to scream at both of them. But I knew I had to stay calm, to focus on healing. I also started working on myself. I hit the gym hard, took up hobbies I'd neglected, and started spending more time with friends who didn't think I was crazy for feeling the way I did. I needed to rebuild my confidence, my trust in people. Because right now I just don't trust anyone, especially not a bitchy wife and a lying brother. How do you trust anyone after that? How do you even look at family the same way again? These questions keep haunting me. The thing is, I'm trying to forgive myself for not seeing the signs earlier. I think part of me wanted to believe in the fairy tale, that she was just bitchy but good inside. Turns out, she was just a liar and a manipulator. Now I see her for who she really is, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. But I also realize I can't dwell on the past forever. I have to move forward, even if that means cutting out everyone I once loved. It's the only way I can rebuild my life from this wreckage. So, I guess my message to anyone who's been betrayed like I was, trust your gut, even if it's bitchy or annoying. Because sometimes, that bitchy little voice inside your head is trying to tell you something important. And don't let anyone, especially family, betray you in the worst way during your most vulnerable moments. That kind of betrayal stays with you forever, but you can choose to move on. Just be careful who you trust. I learned that the hard way. It's been a few months since I filed for divorce and started trying to put my life back together. Honestly, some days are better than others, but I still feel the sting of that betrayal every time I think about Lisa and Jake. The worst part is that I still can't believe how bitchy and manipulative she was, even in her lies. She would act like the victim, crying and screaming about how I ruined everything, but it was all just a performance. I see now that her bitchy attitude was just her way of controlling the situation, of covering up her guilt. I've been seeing a new therapist who's helped me work through the anger and betrayal. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that trust is fragile, so fragile that once it's broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. I used to think that love could fix everything, but now I see that trust is the foundation of any real relationship. Without it, everything crumbles. Lisa's bitchy lies shattered that trust in a way I don't think I'll ever fully recover from. I also cut out my brother, Jake. That was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. He's family, but I can't have someone in my life who'd betray me that way. I kept asking myself how he could do that, sneak around in my childhood home in my bed while I was mourning my mother. That image is burned into my brain. Honestly, I feel a little betrayed by my own family for not warning me sooner, for not seeing how bitchy Lisa really was. But I guess I was blinded by love and loyalty. Now, I realize that loyalty only goes so far when someone is this manipulative. My friends have been incredible through all this. They tell me I'm strong, that I did the right thing. Some of them even say I should take Lisa to court for some of the expenses she caused, but honestly, I'm too exhausted for that right now. I just want to focus on healing and moving forward. I know I won't forget what happened, but I want to learn from it. One thing I've realized is that people can be so bitchy and manipulative, and sometimes they hide it well. Lisa was that way, bitchy on the surface, but underneath, she was cold and calculating. Her lies were crafted to make herself look innocent, even when I had the proof right in front of me. That realization made me see that you can't trust appearances. You have to pay attention to the little signs, her bitchy attitude when she lied, her quick temper, her dismissiveness. All those signs were there, but I was too blind to see them. Now, I'm trying to rebuild my self-esteem. I'm dating casually, but honestly, I don't think I'm ready for anything serious yet. I just want to be sure I don't get caught up in another illusion. I've learned that I need to trust myself first, to recognize the bitchy warning signs early. I don't want to get burned again by someone who's only pretending to be nice. The hardest part is accepting that I'll probably never fully understand why Lisa did this. Why she was so bitchy, so manipulative, so willing to betray her own family. I guess some people are just like that, cold, selfish, and incapable of genuine love. The pain of her betrayal will stay with me, I'm sure. But I also know I can't let it define me. I want to move on to find someone who values honesty and loyalty. So, if there's one thing I want to say to anyone reading this who's been betrayed like I was, trust your instincts. Your bitchy little gut feeling is usually right. Don't ignore it. And don't let anyone convince you that their lies are the truth. Because in the end, the truth always comes out. It's just a matter of how much damage gets done before you see it clearly. I'm still healing, still trying to trust again, but I know I'll come out stronger on the other side. And to Lisa and Jake, yeah, I'll never forget what you did. Your bitchy lies, your betrayal, they're etched in my memory, but I refuse to let it ruin me. I'll rebuild my life piece by piece, and I'll make sure I never let someone like you do this to me again. That's the real revenge, living well, trusting myself, and never letting a bitchy liar get the best of me again. It's been a long, difficult journey, but I think I'm finally starting to find some peace. The betrayal by Lisa, my wife, and Jake, my brother, cut so deep that I didn't think I'd ever recover. But through all the anger, sadness, and frustration, I've learned some hard truths. I learned that trusting someone, really trusting them, is a fragile thing, and if you ignore the warning signs, those bitchy little instincts, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Lisa's bitchy lies, her manipulative attitude, and her selfishness opened my eyes to the fact that some people are just plain toxic. They'll betray you just to satisfy their own ego, and once that trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. The biggest lesson for me has been about self-respect. I always thought I was a good, loyal guy. I thought loyalty meant sticking by someone no matter what. But now I see that loyalty has to be earned, not given blindly. Lisa and Jake proved they weren't worth my trust. They showed me what real betrayal looks like, sneaking around while I was mourning, lying bitchy lies to cover their tracks, and then having the nerve to accuse me of overreacting or being insecure. That bitchy attitude of Lisa's was just her way of deflecting guilt, of trying to make herself look innocent while she was doing the most terrible thing a wife and sister could do. I've come to accept that I have to move on, even if the pain still lingers. I've started focusing on myself, working out, building a new life, and surrounding myself with genuine people who value honesty. I've realized that some people, no matter how close, are just not worth the energy. The bitchy, manipulative type, those who lie, cheat, and betray, are better left behind. Trust is earned, and I'll be damned if I let anyone take it from me so easily again. Now, I look at the whole experience as a hard but necessary lesson. I won't be the guy who gets played again. I won't ignore the bitchy warning signs, and I won't let anyone manipulate me the way Lisa and Jake did. I've learned to trust myself more than ever, to pay attention to those little voices inside that tell me when something's off. Because if I hadn't listened to that bitchy feeling, I might still be blind, still clueless, still in that house with her, thinking everything was okay. To anyone out there who's been betrayed, don't lose faith in yourself. It hurts, it's humiliating, and it destroys your trust for a while, but you will heal. You will find a way to trust again, maybe not in everyone, but in the right ones. Keep your standards high. Be bitchy about the signs you see early on. And never let anyone, especially someone close, destroy your sense of worth. Because at the end of the day, the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. And that's the truth I've learned, painfully but finally.